Saltaire is located in West Yorkshire, England. Its construction began in 1851, after its founding father and namesake, Sir Titus Salt, moved his 5 working mills from Bradford into one central location along the River Aire. There, he offered a high standard of living for his workers, providing them housing, educational and recreational facilities. To this day, Saltaire remains a thriving environment with a rich and diverse community, and in 2001, the largely unchanged model village joined an exclusive list of World Heritage Sites. However, in early 2014, Shipley College were given the go-ahead to construct an entirely new building just outside of the heritage site at the very edge of the buffer zone. With a nationwide demand for usable urban space, some people cannot help but wonder what implications may arise as a result of this new construction, and how this could impact on Saltaire's historical setting.
I was against it for various reasons. I think it's right on the edge of, it's as close to the World Heritage Site as you can get. And they often talk about protecting the buffer zone. And to me, if you build a new build right next to the heritage site, then it's very hard to object to other new builds coming in or changes that impact on the site.
People feel that it's very difficult to get their views across. There is a process, and the planning process is there, and people can object or support something, and that's done reasonably well, I think. But people felt that they were being railroaded, I suppose, into something, and I think that's the wrong tack to take. And people feel then that they have to support something, even if they have concerns about it.
This debate reached a climax during the consultation meetings. Ultimately, the backlash against the new build led to an online campaign in which many dissatisfied members of Saltaire could voice their opinions.
We consulted with various people, including the Conservation Officer at Bradford Council in the Planning Department, and we came up with a design for the building which went through a series of consultations which culminated in a planning application. I think there was a level of hostility at the consultation sessions, but I think that was people getting a little bit whipped up into a frenzy and perhaps going a little bit over the top as to how they sort of behaved.
I think it comes down to not so much, I don't blame the college or even the planning process necessarily, but this notion that you can't build buildings that fit in with the sort of buildings there are in Saltaire at the moment, I think is wrong. And I think the law needs to be changed on that. Simple as that.
Not everything is just done to one style in Saltaire. Things did change as the village developed. We felt that the building should be of its time, i.e. a modern building, fit for purpose, for education, but it has to be sympathetic to its surroundings.
Despite the objections, there are some who see the extension of Shipley College in keeping with the ethos of Titus Salt, a man who built educational facilities for the children of his workers at a time when the schooling of young children was not mandatory.
Whichever end you are, you claim Sir Titus. It's a bit like God on our side, Titus wouldn't have done that. Titus would have been the first one to do this, Titus Salt would have built any building that we're doing in the most economical modern materials that he could get his hands on.
There's this very long history of education. In fact, all 3 of the buildings of which we are trustees, were constructed for educational purposes. So it seemed to make sense that Shipley College should have a go at this. Don't know if we realised how much controversy there would be at the time, but it's inevitable probably that any building in a conservation area and next to a World Heritage Site will be controversial.
People have connections, people have family who work in the college and whatever, and that sort of thing. And I think there's people don't necessarily, and people maybe like a lot of the things that the college does and therefore don't want to offend it. And there's all sorts of complicated reasons why people might not want to. I don't want to offend the college or the students in it, it provides work, it provides education. Education is good, as a bookseller. I think the education is fantastic, and the more education, the better. But it makes it difficult. I think it creates that sort of tension in a village, which is sad that there should be that, really.
We've all had to adapt to keep Saltaire alive, and I think this is just another adaptation of Saltaire going forward, and it will help to keep Saltaire as a living, thriving community. We can't keep it as a museum. And there has been development in Saltaire before. There's not necessarily good quality sympathetic development either. The buildings that are on the other side of Caroline Street down there are not good quality, and that area will have to be developed in the future at some point.
The history of education in Saltaire is central. The more you begin to explore it, because Titus and his wife Caroline were both interested in education, and they had the capacity. They put up the Salt Building, as it's now known, and that was the school. When there's a need for education, Saltaire responds. So that seems to me to be fairly straightforward, that if there's a need for education, we don't say go somewhere else, we don't have room.
It's a diverse community, residents, businesses, and we all have to try and get along with one another. I think what the college brings to the community is, obviously, the staff and students spend a lot of money in the village, and that's part, keeps the economy healthy, and that's a positive thing. I think most people see that as a positive thing, and I think we've just got to do it with as little impact as we can.
It's a matter of vigilance for what's appropriate, rather than saying nothing can change, or that any change would be bad. It's vigilance.